I'm Ryan.
And I'm Steve, and this is 60 Cycle Hum, the guitar buying, selling, trading, modding, fixing, breakering, reviewing, playing podcast.
We're back at it again. I'm wearing a blue shirt. Steve is wearing a gray shirt. Our first ad was sent to us
from Craig Breslin.
I should have had this ready to go.
Yeah, how dare you? This is from UK Guitar Amp Gear Exchange. This is a BC Rich Warlock from the NJ series. It's extremely rare.
Yeah. Well, something about it that makes it extremely rare is it ain't got no tuners on it. It's got this completely blank headstock. No tuners, no holes at all.
But Ryan, where do you put the strings?
Well, Steve, it's got this Floyd Rose Speedloader system. That when did these come out? I want to say had to be like 2002.
I was thinking 4, but yeah, 2 might be closer.
It might have even been earlier than that, like 98 or something like that.
I actually didn't even realize that these made it out like that anybody used these outside of Floyd Rose's own brand of guitars.
Yeah, because they had their own guitars for a while that used this system. I wonder how many companies did this.
Yeah, this is a stunning and very rare BC Rich. Excellent condition overall. Seen these sell for around 100 pounds on eBay, which that explains why you're selling it for 250 pounds. These are very rare as they have no tuners and come with special Floyd Rose Speedloader bridge that allows lightning fast string changes. I have a spare set of strings to go with it. Guitar is pretty much mint condition. This is not to be confused with the budget BC Rich guitars. This is a premium range guitar. They're only made for a limited time, so it's definitely a future classic. Do you think this is a future classic, Ryan?
No, I don't.
I mean, I will agree that the BC Rich, I believe the NJ series is one of their like higher end series. I can't speak to how high end. This was a Korean built guitar, so I'm guessing this is probably like a 6 or 7.
I've seen some Speedloaders that were made by Ed Roman, but that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, the Ed Roman. I don't want to say he didn't make guitars, but I don't know how much was like him modifying stuff versus.
No, he made them.
Did he actually make them?
Or he had someone make them. I'm seeing a Jackson
with Speedloader.
With a Speedloader. I think a few of the metal brands tried it out.
Okay. So correct me if I'm wrong, but basically what this is a system where the bullet part of the headstock, like this is like an exact size string.
It's an exact size string that you drop into your bridge and your nut, and there's a bullet, like literally a bullet-shaped chunk of metal on the edge of each string, and you depress the Floyd Rose trim a bit so it's slack. You slide in the bullet on each end, and you let it go. And in theory, your string should be close to perfectly in tune.
Yeah, this has like the little micro tuners.
Yeah, it has the standard like Floyd Rose style micro tuners that you've come to know and love from Floyd Rose. But the moment this came out, it just felt like this is doomed technology, because it's like you don't want to buy a guitar based around its string system.
Right.
And it's like once you buy this guitar, you can only buy these proprietary strings that are made by Floyd Rose. No one else was going to bother to license this design from Floyd Rose to make.
Seriously.
You like Ernie Ball Super Slinky Speedloaders, or, Dean Markley Speedloaders, or, D'Addario Speedloaders or something like that.
Do you think,
like no one is interested because it's such a niche thing, and it's like solving like a problem that's kind of a real problem, but it also kind of just exists in people's in the back of people's worrywart mind. Like,
right.
Oh man, what if I have to change a string mid-set on my Floyd Rose?
Yeah.
I mean, the realistic way to deal with that is to bring a second guitar, which you should do anyways if you're serious about your gig. If you're not serious about your gig like me, then you just don't worry about it. But like, even though it's a Speedloader and you can change those strings super fast, it's still not really fast enough to do it mid-set. Like, you're going to run over your case, fumble around in your case, find the exact string you need, speed load it in there. You're still going to have to do some micro adjustments to get it in tune. It's much faster to grab a backup guitar. that you actually like that isn't committed to the Speedloader thing.
Did you ever play these?
I have.
I've seen them.
I've played the Floyd Rose version.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They were kind of cool guitars.
It's a guitar.
And it's also funny that like nowadays, when these came out, headless guitars were super faux pas. Like no one wanted a headless guitar anymore. That was so 80s, you know? But now headless guitars are back, and this is a design that's perfect for headless.
Right. Even the Floyd Rose ones had a headstock.
They did. No, everything that used these still had a headstock, which is comical now because like the headless guitars are so in vogue.
Right. Right.
Like there's no reason for any of these guitars to have a head other than to be like, oh, don't worry, it's not headless.
Yeah, it's not ugly.
Don't worry, it's not, you know, like an 80s keytar design or whatever.
You can still buy these strings online.
Yeah, we figured that out. We we jumped onto Musician's Friend, which is like the first link that came up. You can still buy these strings. I'm sure there's a warehouse somewhere that's just packed full of them because they expected it to blow up. I mean, you know, to be fair, they're trying to solve like one of the main gripes with the Floyd Rose system.
That it takes too long to restring.
It's
impossible to restring, and if you break a string, the entire thing falls out of tune.
You've got to snip.
Is that second part accurate?
If you break a string, the whole thing's going to fall out of tune. Okay. But you can say that for any floating trim set. Like if you've got
that's why a
Jaguar or a Big Spee or one of those, Big Spee style ones from that company I can't remember. Duesenberg.
Oh, Duesenberg.
Like a doozy trim.
Yeah.
Like all of those, you're going to lose tuning on all your strings if a string breaks because it's a floating.
On a Floyd Rose, how hard is it to recover from that?
Oh, like, to change
easy?
To change the string.
I'm not saying to change a string, like to say just finish the set with 5 strings.
No, you can't play anymore if you're playing with anything more than a drummer. Like if you're playing with a bassist or another guitarist, it's over.
Right, but I'm saying like if I have my Strat set up for float and I break a string, I just retune. You can't do that on a Floyd Rose?
Well, because on a Floyd Rose, you'd have to undo the nut.
Right.
To tune from the tuners.
You don't have enough. You generally don't have enough play on the micro to overcome like a full step drop.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. And
you
also,
found my weak spot, guys.
It would just be a lot of like
Floyd Rose guitars. I know nothing.
We're like, yeah, I guess technically with a Big Spee design or a Strat design, if it's floating, you could tune up if you're quick in a minute.
Yeah, I mean, you lose like half of a song.
But it's like a Floyd Rose, you break a random string. It's like a 5-minute ordeal if you're quick,
right?
To change that string because you got to have tools too. You got to undo the nut clamps. Then you've got to undo the string bridge saddle clamp. Then you've got to get the string. You've got to trim off the ball end with wire cutters. And then you got to put it in there and clamp it down with an Allen wrench, and then clamp the nut with an Allen wrench. So it's like this design solves that problem, but then it causes more problems too because you can never do alternate tunings with this.
Right.
You can never and I mean with everything Floyd Rose.
Can you not do alternate?
And
like you don't. There's no.
There's not enough range on the microtuners.
These strings will only do standard tuning
unless they sell sets that do other tunings. So it's like you couldn't throw like that heavy like C set that I got onto here and do C tuning. You couldn't do like these super heavy metal tunings that people use now with these because they're locked in to standard E tuning. Like even if you want to drop D, you're kind of screwed.
Interesting.
I mean, I think you could maybe wrangle drop D from the microtuners.
Right.
Maybe.
So this got me thinking about other products that have been on the market where you kind of look at it and you're like, that is a niche that is going to vanish. Like that is a product that's so specific. And the first one that came to mind for me because they're really cool and a lot of fun were the DeArmond Ashbury basses.
Yeah.
They're like the tiny, like half scale. Like I think they're like a 21-inch scale or something.
Oh, they're small like that.
Yeah.
But that's
basses with a silicone rubber string.
Well, they look like they have hot glue gun sticks or strings.
No, that's exactly what. Oh, so that's the solution. If you break a string, you
just get some hot glue.
Just get some hot glue, melt it down, melt all the sticks together, and you got a new string.
It's a totally different material. It's like a soft rubber.
Yeah.
But that whole concept's been resurrected as like those uke basses now, Which looks
Right.
Those look way cooler.
But those strings are all black. I only want
they make them.
I only want those clear strings.
They make them in all kinds of colors.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
I literally every uke bass I've played has had black strings. That's been.
I've seen them in
string.
kind of like a yellowish woodish tone.
Huh.
I think I've seen them in white. They should do them in like. I mean, it's silicone rubber. They should make it in like tie-dye colors.
Yeah, they should do like the DR thing and just have different color for each string.
They should fade from the bridge to the nut from like, and it look like gummy worms where it like fades from green to yellow.
They should,
like alternates green, yellow, green, yellow.
They should fade into you.
People who make those strings, who make the uke bass strings, make gummy worm colors. I'll try to buy one. I'll try to buy a uke bass just to have
green, red. You know, if you
pineapple red.
If you did gummy worm colors and you did it right, it just looks super reggae.
Exactly. And make it out of gummy worm material so I can eat the ends off when I trim the strings.
I don't know if that's gonna have the tensile strength required.
It don't matter. It's worth the joke, Steve.
Yeah.
So besides talking about this awful Floyd Rose concept that is toast now, there's no way they still make any guitars that support this, right? Like that whole program's scrapped, right?
I have not even seen one of the. I've seen like the like used ones in stores, and every time I see them, I'm like, what are you going to do with this? I didn't even know they still made the strings.
Right. Well, I don't think they still make the strings. I think the strings just still exist.
Right, but they still at least have enough of them that they are available for purchase online.
There's some article on the gear page called How to Resolve the Floyd Rose Speedloader Fiasco. So apparently there's a fiasco. I don't even know what it is.
It exists. That is
this
the
person
fiasco.
says that the company seemingly lacks the ability to create strings for it. So maybe the strings that are available now are new old stock.
Yeah. That makes them extra vintage and more special for buying.
If you've got one of these
was that a sentence?
If you got one of these guitars right now,
don't break a string.
Buy as many strings as you can.
Yeah.
Like seriously, the fact that we're saying that there's strings available on Musician's Friend, get on there now. You've got to buy futures in this guitar. Like even if you plan on selling it someday, like you got to be like, here's this guitar. Don't worry, I've got 50 packs of strings for you, lifetime supply.
Yeah, you just buy those now, $10 a pack. In 20 years, those packs will be worth like $12 a pack.
All right, you got anything new, Steve?
Yeah, I got something new in the mail.
A box.
I got a box. This came from FedEx. Did not come on the initial shipping date. This is from Drop.
I don't even know what this is.
This is a thing I bought because
you bought it.
I bought it. I buy things, Ryan. I'm not
You're not
as
a moocher like me.
I'm not as
a leech.
I wanted to say I'm just not a hustler.
Oh, hustler is the word you're going to use.
Yeah.
You're kinder to me than I am.
Oh my gosh.
Hurry up and open it, Steve. I don't even know what it was. What is a Drop?
No, it's from the website Drop, which used to be Mass Drop. Now it's Drop. This actually came up very conveniently. The right ear on my Audio Fly in-ear monitors went out, and I don't know why. And I contacted them, and they said send proof of purchase. And I don't have that, so I haven't written them back because I got it in the Premier Guitar mystery box.
Oh,
which I mean, I imagine they would still cover.
Well, you got to send them your receipt for your mystery box purchase,
right? Oh, here's the end that says open.
So these are in-ears.
Yeah, so these are the Tin Hi-Fi T3s, which is their new thing. Oh my gosh, it says
Steve
open.
sucks at boxes.
Apparently.
Why am I not surprised? Wink, wink, wink.
Wow.
Oh,
there we go.
Euphemism.
Ryan euphemized.
Ask your parents, kids. They'll explain it to you.
Man,
that's a fancy box. Whoa, look at that wire.
Look at all these tips.
Nice tips, Steve.
Thanks.
This cable is fancy looking. It's like gold and silver.
And this is the ear right here. That's one of them.
Wow.
So this is... I actually got these. A lot of people recommend like different
How much were these?
Like 60, 40?
60, 40?
somewhere
That's a
in
pretty
there.
fatty grind of beef, Steve, but I think
Right
it's going
here.
to work for these earplugs.
Oh, this is just a packing
All right.
slip. So there's
Don't
no
read
price.
that, Steve. Woo! Yeah, drop them. 60 or $40. That's not bad at all.
Yeah, they look good. I don't know how they will sound. It's a single balanced armature and a single dynamic driver. The previous version, the T2, was pretty well reviewed. So
yeah.
I just want to try them out. I'm really super picky with ears, I've found, because I've tried a bunch of different kinds, and if it doesn't fit right, and I think it's all just because I play bass. And really what this all drives back to is I really need to get my Ultimate ears refit and figure out why they've never fit right.
I'm still using my Ultimate ears. They're great.
Though the UE7 is not supposed to be the best for bass. I mean, I can't imagine they're that bad. I've actually been using.
I hear our bass is just fine, but it's different when you're listening to your own signal.
Yeah. I've been using the Shure 215s, which have pretty, some people say they're great, some people say whatever. I think honestly, in-ears for guitar is really easy.
Yeah.
I mean,
honestly, you probably don't need in-ears. You can probably just use your earbuds or whatever. For
right.
Your phone.
And I understand, for a lot of people that sounds like heresy. And is it going to sound buzzy? Is it going to potentially sound bad? Yes. 100%.
But the frequency range that a guitar covers is so kind of middle of the road.
Yeah, it's very passable.
Yeah.
But I tried, I try 2 or 3 different pairs for bass, just specifically for bass, and could not get them to work. Even my UE7s, even though they fit bad, I can use them for guitar because the bad fit, I think, prevents the good seal to transfer the bass.
Yeah.
Because I think the bass is
Transfer
really
the bass.
That bass signal is really like an armature to bone transfer.
Sure.
So if you're not getting that, you're not going to get a good sound.
Someone was posting an article around saying or claiming that all these multi-driver in-ears are bad technology and it's better technology to have single driver or lower amounts of drivers. I didn't read the article, but I read the headline, and now I have opinions on
That
it.
one has surprised me. I mean, it's really interesting because you have a lot of these companies that will put out, I think ZST is KZ Audio just put out a 16 driver. And they're like one of these
How do
Chinese
they even
brand.
fit?
Well, because they're all armatures.
Oh,
So
okay.
do you know about armatures?
Armature right here.
Basically that's what an armature is.
An armature
No,
right
it's
here. I
just
use
like a
armatures
little
for hugging.
okay, Rumble Pack, Nintendo 64.
Right.
That's an armature.
Okay.
So now imagine that really tiny and really fast. It's going to produce specific frequencies.
Right. I realize that they're made to handle specific frequencies. So
Yeah.
it's you're not sharing all your frequencies across a single
But
driver.
yeah, at 16, it's are you really discerning all of that?
Right.
And there are plenty of people who are saying that I'm reading that say you can't really discern the difference between 3 high quality armatures versus 10 medium to low quality armatures.
Yeah.
So
It makes
anyway,
sense
that's
to
what I
me.
got. You got anything new, Ryan?
I do have something new, Steve. I bought a Jaguar, not the car. I know that's what everyone suspected right away, but I bought this 80s Japanese Jaguar here.
Yeah, this is an E series. So
Yeah.
the shop Guitar Center said it was a 86, right?
Yeah, that's what the tag said. I haven't had the neck off yet to see if there's a date tag in there yet. But should I tell the full story behind this? I haven't told it anywhere. I was saving it for the podcast, so I might as well indulge myself, right? And tell the story. So I was going to Guitar Center to give away that Firefly guitar.
Yeah.
Because people voted for me to give it away and gave me money to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I went there on a Wednesday, and I went too early. And there were no kids at Guitar Center at all. I sat there for an hour and I filmed myself trying to get it, trying to find a kid to give this guitar away to. No kids showed up at Guitar Center. I thought it was still summer break, but apparently some kids are in school now.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just on a Wednesday, no kids go to Guitar
the
Center.
year-round schools are are in session.
So anyways, I'm there on a Wednesday. I'm like, well, I might as well go into Guitar Center. I go in. Oh yeah, I was also trying to sell that Airline. That's another reason I went. So I went in to sell the Airline 59 2PT, the Telecaster loadout one, because I've just been trying to.
Did you sell that?
I did. I've been. That's part of the story, Steve. I've been trying to get rid of stuff and have less guitars. Here I have a guitar I've just bought. So I walk in. They're figuring out what they were going to pay me for the guitar. Long story short, they were going to give me $250. I was like, hell no, I can go sell this for $100 more than that easy, like today on Craigslist. And the salesperson agreed. And he's like, you're right, you should do that. But while I was waiting for them to figure it out, I saw this thing sitting on the rack.
Yeah.
And it just immediately spoke to me. I was like, what is this? And then I saw the price tag, and the price tag was like $789, I think. And that's
something like that.
That's pre-tax.
Right.
And I'm like, oh man, I'm in a world where I could afford that if I really like made some stuff happen. And so I picked it up. I was playing around with it. I was like, I took pictures of it, and I texted the pictures to Mike Adams, Pusheen, as he's known on Instagram on the internet. And because he's a big expert on offsets, obviously.
Right.
I was like, what do you know about this year? What do you know about like what I'm looking at here? And he's like, well, those pickups are American vintage reissues. I can tell by the pull pieces.
That's crazy.
This and that. The bodies are, the wood is good. The hardware is bad on these, this and that.
The hardware's bad.
And he had all these opinions. And then he was like, at that price, I command you to buy this. And I was like, okay. I'm waiting for them to figure out what they're going to give me for the Airline. If they can hit like 400, I'll walk out of here with this.
Right.
They offered $250, and I was like, I can't do it. I don't have cash in pocket. I need to sell this guitar. So I walked away on a Wednesday, went home, had just been obsessing about this guitar.
Yeah.
Like it's all I was thinking about all day. My plan was to go back to Guitar Center on Saturday to try to find a kid to give the Firefly away to. And so in between Wednesday and Saturday, I was just listing stuff to sell. Like, what pedals can I sell? I listed my PV Classic 50 for sale. And I put this is another side tangent. I was putting stuff up on OfferUp, which is my first time messing with OfferUp. That is crazy. OfferUp is insane. So I put the Eastwood Airline up on OfferUp. I kept getting like tire kickers, like people who are kind of interested in it, people not committing, people abandoning it and being like, oh, I'll call you tomorrow. I'm going to check out this other guitar. And I'm just like, this thing's not going to sell in time before Saturday. I'm not going to get the Jaguar. The Jaguar's probably already sold. Someone else bought it. I'm just like feeling anxiety over this guitar that I probably shouldn't buy because I have too many guitars. And I was basically like, Jesus, take the wheel on this, like make things line up for me to buy this if I'm supposed to buy it. And on Saturday, before I leave to go film, this guy starts texting me or messaging me through OfferUp. And he's like, I'm coming down from Riverside to buy this thing.
Dang.
I'm like, oh, okay. He gets down here. I sell him the guitar. He barely plays it. He's just like, yeah, this is it. This is the one. Throws me $400, leaves. That same morning, sold a $200 pedal.
Nice.
I was like, okay, I've got $600 in my pocket now. If it's there, I'm going to buy it. I go to Guitar Center. It's there. I give away the Firefly in the parking lot to a kid.
Right.
I have to then put down $100 on layaway because the 30-day wait period wasn't up. The 30-day wait period was over the next day.
Yeah.
So I had to drive back up to Guitar Center on Sunday to pick this up. So I went to Guitar Center 3 days.
Once you put it on layaway,
week.
though, does that lock it in for you for like a month?
Yeah, I could have gone back a week later, but I wanted it right away.
Right.
So anyways, I've got this thing now. I super love it. It plays great. The neck is super fast and kind of thin.
Yeah.
The frets on it really remind me of the fret wire that's on the new Ventera Fenders that just came out. So that's kind of the era that they're modeling with the Ventera, is this kind of fret wire. The pickups sound awesome.
Yeah, I think it's Ventura.
I don't know. But anyways, I had originally planned on doing a bunch of mods to this. And once I got it home, I was like, I like it so much as it is. I don't know if I can justify it now. I mean, I might meet up with Mike and we'll figure out some mods for it or figure out some tweaks for it to get it playing its best. But I don't know. One of the crazy things about it is that I had a Jaguar before that I did not gel with. I had a CIJ, like a really recent CIJ, and it just didn't feel good to me. It didn't sound good to me. I didn't have fun playing it. And this one is just more magic to me. And once I get it live, then I'll figure out if I want to swap in the mastery on it, because I've got the mastery on the Squier Jazzmaster. Mm-hmm. But so far at home, the stock bridge feels fine. It had a little bit of buzz on the high E when I bought it, but I was able to dial that out just by adjusting the screws.
It felt good when I was messing around. Like, it felt really solid all around.
Yeah.
I didn't go like super crazy on the trim or anything, but everything seemed pretty stable.
Well, when I bought it, it was dialed so that the trim was like
vibrato.
The vibrato was locked all the way out,
right?
Which is like, it's more tuning stable if a string goes out of tune or you break a string or whatever.
Yeah.
But the problem is, and Mike told me this, he's that the trim route on the MIJs is smaller, and what that was causing was it was like catching on the wood in there. So like to use the trim, I'd have to like overcome this catching thing that was happening. Right. So I set it to be balanced, to be floating basically, and there's no issues with it now. It floats nice and smooth now.
When the morning you posted that you were going to go get it, you're like, after church, I'm going to go get this. My first thought was like, what time does Ryan get out of church? What time do you get out of church?
Around noon, but we went and got lunch before I went and picked it up. So I was like 2 hours late.
Okay, were you just posting pictures before you?
Oh, I had pictures from the day before.
Dang it!
That's why I didn't have it yet.
Dang it!
Yeah.
I thought you had gotten out early, because I was just, though granted, like 2 hours after was also like would have been pointless.
Because you were joking that you were gonna go buy it first.
I was joking that I was gonna go buy it, and so what I wanted to do
was
you're
gonna Super Rich Steve it in the parking lot when I roll up?
No, what I wanted to do was just get it and then like go into like take it to like a different place, like just take it away from the vintage rack. Like the used gear rack into like a different part of the store, and just be in there, like just start playing it for like, I was like, it's probably like a 15-minute window, like just mess around with it for 15 minutes and then like wait for you to come in and be like, dude, Ryan, check out this sick guitar.
Gosh, shut up.
Like, now one thing I didn't think about, you're talking about that airline story is, granted, you said you wanted at least $450 for it.
I wanted $400 for it.
400?
Well, once I figured out that I wanted to buy the Jaguar, I was like, I can move this quick for $400.
Right.
Because I had been trying to get $600 for it, got 0 hits. Then I moved it down to $500, and I had it like on a reverb.
Yeah.
0 hits on it. And then moving it to $400, then I started getting a lot of hits. So
what I was thinking is what you should have done is you should have asked how far they would have dropped this guitar with that, because sometimes they'll do that where it's like if you like sell,
if they had dropped,
sell/trade a piece of gear, they'll do like a bigger discount.
I mean, they were looking at that Jag though, like that's for sure gonna sell.
Right. Okay.
Like when I bought it, like 3 different salespeople were like, "Oh, the Jag, that thing is cool."
Yeah.
Like so they knew like that thing's gonna sell. The price was right.
Yeah.
Like at basically $860 out the door. Mm-hmm. Went on eBay, MIJs of this year.
Like 12, 13.
Yeah, they're going over $1,000. So I got a good price on it. They've had it priced to move.
Yeah.
Also, apparently Chris Weeks, IRL buddy of ours, claims that he owned this exact one.
What?
He said that on Instagram. He's like, whoa, I owned that exact guitar, that one.
So did he like sell on Craigslist?
Well, I asked him if he sold it to Guitar Center, and he didn't reply to me. But the guy at Guitar Center who checked me out with it, he was like, "Oh, I know the guy who sold this to us." I didn't ask him who it was. If I had known, I would have been like, "Oh, was it Chris Weeks?"
Right.
Yeah. What band was Chris in that we used to play with all the time?
The Goomies.
The Goomies. That's right.
Yeah. Follow up. Oh, just in reference to what I was saying, not like follow up comment. The whole thing with. So I don't know if they still do it, but Guitar Center used to do a thing where if you they just said, trade in special, trade in a, if you're trade in a guitar and get a 10% discount over like the gear that you want, kind of a thing. And so people would go and
trade in anything.
And depending on who your salesperson is, like people would go and like trade in an Affinity like Squier to buy like a Les Paul Studio or like not a Les Paul Studio, but like a Les Paul Standard. Yeah. So it's a 10% discount. So literally you're trading in a $75, maybe $90 guitar
for a $300
for like
discount.
A $250, $300 discount. People, I've seen at least one person claim that they did this with a DS1. That they traded a DS1 in for like a $200 discount on a guitar.
That's wild. You know, Guitar Center's still making a profit off of that.
Oh, yeah.
Or they wouldn't let it happen for longer than 5 minutes.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, maybe it's still a thing. I don't know.
But they spent a lot of time trying to figure out how much the airline was worth. I was in there for a good like 20 minutes, half an hour, which is why I got so acquainted with that thing.
When you mentioned it, like I jumped on both Reverb and eBay, and there's basically like, I don't think there was a single sold example on eBay.
Well, here's the problem with that guitar. It's a unique loadout for an airline because it has a Telecaster loadout. 2, it played really, really nice. And the only reason I was selling it is because I have a lot of Telecasters now.
Right.
I don't need the redundancy, and I still have another airline.
And if you're going to do a Telecaster, like people kind of want to see a traditional looking Telecaster.
I'm going to grab the Jennings.
Yeah.
Or, I'm going to grab whatever else I have up here.
The 3 humbucker Squier.
So I think people aren't selling them if they have them because they're a great playing guitar, great sounding guitar.
Yeah.
And also there's just not a ton of them out there.
Yeah. I mean, when I was looking for it, I say that there was like 1 or 2 on eBay, but I actually think at least one of the ones I saw on eBay was it was just the 2P model, not the 2PT.
Right. It's a Telecaster loadout that makes it funky, which honestly, it's a much faster playing guitar than the 3P I have back here is. It's also like the more classic airline.
It's also the fact that when you set the volume to 9 and the tone to 6, and then flick the switch 3 times, it automatically plays play that funky music. White Boy, that makes it funky.
That makes it funky.
That makes it very funky.
Another funny thing is
I should have named a better funk era song
seriously.
than that. That's
no
just
kidding, Steve. The guy who came and bought it was extremely enthusiastic. Like I said, he drove like hour 45 minutes or something like that to come get it. Didn't have a single piece of information about the guitar right. Like he kept like saying things like, "No, that's not really true." And then I would like say like something about the guitar, and he's like, "Oh no, actually it's this," and I'd be like, just buy it, I guess. Like, take it home. You're excited about it. Like, he was like, "Oh, you must have bought this back in 2007. No, I got it from the company 2 years ago.
Yeah.
They only made these in 2007. I'm pretty sure they're selling them right now. I don't know.
And then at some point he was like, "Dude, I love this bass."
And I'm pretty close to certain that the original ones were made out of what they called Resoglass.
Right. This was wood.
Which was a fiberglass.
Mm-hmm.
And he kept claiming that the original ones were made out of just straight plastic. And like, they're fiberglass, dude. He's like, "No, they were made out of plastic."
I don't even think the 50s or 60s ones or whatever weren't even made out of like just plastic.
No, they were fiberglass. I've seen gut shots of the bodies, and there's a company that sells body kits,
right,
where you put your own neck on it, that are fiberglass.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're going for. So this guy was extremely enthusiastic, but had all the wrong information. It's not going to change his playing experience with the guitar. He's going to love the guitar, but
it's going to change his ability to resell it when he lists everything wrong.
Yeah. Oh, this is from 2007 and it's made out of plastic.
And it's a bass.
And it's a bass. I've been using this bass since 2007. Sponsors?
Yeah, this week's for sponsors, Chase
Bliss
Audio.
Whoa.
Offering a digital brain and an analog heart. The Chase Bliss Audio pedal lineup has reverbs, delays, choruses.
I was using their pedal this week.
Tremolos. Which one?
That has a digital brain and a digital heart.
Oh.
I've been using the Dark World reverb. I've got another reverb farther up my board that's giving me my spring sounds, and I've gone full ambient, like moody.
So you just play one note at the beginning of the service, and 30 minutes later you roll your volume pedal off.
What is it? Shimmer verb. I've gone full shimmer verb on it, and it is a beautiful sounding reverb. I throw on both sides of it. I've got the plate setting dialed in to be pretty long and lush and ambient, going into that shimmered sound, and man, it just takes you to another planet. It is pretty incredible. And then I throw like a tremolo after that, and I get all wild. I throw delays after that. I lay down this whole landscape.
You're so
of
wild,
ambience, guys. I'd say it's buck wild, Steve.
All right. If you want to get whatever things that he just said that were a bunch of words, I zoned out because it was kind of a dumb story.
If you liked all my words, check out Chase Bliss Audio, especially the Dark World.
If you hated all of his words, also check out Chase Bliss Audio. They do have a great pedal lineup.
Yeah.
They are fully, very full featured, like all kinds of options. But at their core, they are just great sounding pedals.
Imagine a bucket full of features. Chase Bliss's bucket is overflowing.
Imagine a bucket that's also kind of wild.
Bucket wild. Hell yeah. I like where you're going with this, Steve.
All right. This first topic was sent in by Andrew Smith. Did we say chaseplusaudio.com? Chaseplusaudio.com. All right.
They make pedals more creative than you are.
This first topic was sent in by Andrew Smith. He says bass collecting versus guitar collecting context. I own about 10 guitars and 2 basses, though I only perform live as a bassist. I have no urge to collect basses, and 2 is more than I care to own. Yet I have a desire to own more guitars, even though I know I don't need them. That's like the full... it's a statement. That is the absolute truth.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know anyone who has as many basses as like the average guitarist has guitarists that I know.
Right. I mean,
the average guitarist is not uncommon for someone to own 4 guitars. An acoustic, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Like a humbucker electric, a single coil electric, and then something off the beaten path, a P90 or, like like some sort of other variation. Like it's really common for people to have around 4 guitars.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a big deal at all. But like a bassist, you own
I own
2 basses.
2 basses right now.
And you borrow a third.
Correct.
Our friend Meg, who's a bassist, owns 1 bass.
As far as I know.
Trying to think. A guy I play with at church owns 2 basses.
Yeah. And to add
but then the other bassists, I think 2, I have a lot of bassists at church I play with. 2 of them have at least 2 basses. The rest have 1 bass.
Right.
As far as I'm aware. I can't think of any bassists I know that have more than 2 basses. I mean, that doesn't sound like covering all your basses to me. One of these pads does the drum roll. That might be it. We're not wearing headphones, so I can't hear it.
Yeah, and to add context to this, I guess.
Do you want to own more basses?
I own 2 basses, but okay, so I can answer that too. So I own 2 basses. I perform primarily live as a bass player. I was in one band where I was a guitar player. But most of, even like pretty much every context I've been in, when I had a third bass, it was like a beater bass that just hung around, and I ended up loaning.
You got to third base?
I ended up loaning it to a kid whose car got broken into. But I was like, they're like, oh man, like how much? Like I'll pay you back, whatever. I'm like, dude, that was like a beat to crap Squire. Like I don't care. Like
I forgot about that bass.
Yeah, it gone.
It's gone.
It got stolen.
Yeah, that was like an affinity thing.
Yeah. So, but in this context, like I own 2 basses.
I'm not even a bassist. I own a bass.
And I own that are currently playable, 2 acoustic guitars that are playable, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 electric guitars that are playable, I think.
And 8 that aren't playable.
1 that's not playable.
1's over there in the cubby.
Oh, 2, I guess 2 that aren't playable. So yeah, I mean, to that point, like I have all these guitars that like I don't like the last time
you don't play as much as your bass.
I have not played bass live, or I have not played guitar live. I don't think I've played guitar live this year.
Is it just that like guitar, like it feels like the variations in them matter more?
So I think that is the thing is
like single coils versus humbuckers is a bigger step than jazz bass to a P bass.
Jazz bass to a P bass is a pretty notable step, and the body, not the body style, but the neck styles between the two are pretty different.
Right.
But
no, there is a lot of variation in the bass world. Like,
there is, but when you're talking about when you're talking about like the classic bass sounds, it's not really until you're doing something that requires like a ton of versatility that you're like, oh, I need this other bass. You're gonna play Rush, you're gonna play prog.
Right.
Like classic prog, you get a jazz bass. You're going to play jazz, you get a jazz bass. You want to play like anything pop, you just get a jazz bass. You want to play anything aggressive or alternative, you get a P bass. Like unless you're going for something like super specific.
Is like their Ernie Ball basses, are those kind of P bass territory and sound?
I would say that they kind of have their own thing, but they're probably ballparkish. Like they're like a thick, fat tone. They're kind of more like, I would say like a P bass is probably more rumbly. Than like a Stingray.
That's what it's called, the Stingray.
The pickup is in like a mid forward position, whereas the Stingray is a bridge position, so it's going to have a lot more attack.
Yeah.
And then one of the guys who works at who's one of the I think his title is creative director at my church. So he runs the tech. He does music and everything. He also runs he does studio work. As a producer, and he was looking for a bass, so he bought a Fender Reggie Hamilton bass, which is jazz in the bridge and precision in the neck with a jazz neck. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like a jack of all trades bass.
Is that the mullet of basses, that loadout?
No, it's the
party in the back, business up front.
It's the it's the HSS Strat of basses.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not even a bassist, and I could sit here and rattle off every bass I would buy if I was a bassist.
Right.
And I'd have way more. Like I'd have a Hofner bass, I'd have a Dana Longhorn, then I'd have to cover my bass basses by having at least a P bass and jazz bass variation.
Right.
And like I would go crazy, but maybe that's a guitarist mentality, and maybe that is here's like my super offensive take on this. Like maybe it's all mentalities. Mm-hmm. Like, and a guitarist just has a mentality of like, I'm going to get what I want. I'm going to get as much as I want. I'm going to be at the front of the stage. I'm going to be loud. And I don't care how obnoxious it is. I'm going to get what I want. Where a bassist is like, oh, like I don't want to be in a band and play music. And I want to make sure I, maximize my my ability to like really hunt out like the band I want to be in. So I'll pick up something more utilitarian and needed like bass. And they're more like laid back and more like not as like aggressive about their mentality towards what they're doing.
I think there's also, there's some of that. Some of it's because on the low end, like there's just not as much.
They've settled for playing the bass.
Maybe that's what it is. There's a little, I think there's less, I don't want to say there's less interaction, but because your frequency range on the bass is a lot more limited.
Yeah. You're also doing less to your signal because you're going for more of a hi-fi, like really cover this sound in a clean range sort of thing. Where like guitar is so much about getting tools to just stress your tone, essentially. To add resistance and to add character and to take parts out of your tone, where bass is like their mentality is like, I've got to just master this chunk of the frequency range, and I'm not trying to lose stuff. I'm trying to preserve stuff.
Right. I think that those frequency ranges do play a lot into it. No one, I don't want to say no one.
Sure.
But you think about like, what is your classic Strat pickup tone? It's like a well-defined, but not like boomy, but it's a well-defined like low end, like your low E like can come through. Maybe it comes through aggressively, but when you like roll it back a little, like you still have like, bell-like tones and whatever. Like there's definitely like a mid-range, like there's ranges with the bass, but also you're like really looking at a much smaller frequency range.
Guitarists are like, oh yeah, this is like my guitar that I use for clean tones because those singles just sparkle when they hit, like a light drive. And this is my guitar for high gain because it's got this hot humbucker.
Right.
And this is my guitar for chugga chugga stuff and this and that. Like there's all this variation of tones where like bass tone, there is variation in it, but it's not quite as extreme. And it's more about establishing like the tone of the actual bass and not the tone of the effects that it's pushing against.
I think maybe even it could be fair to go as far as to say, now you're seeing it, this kind of change, I think, on guitar, or maybe it has changed. You could say it has changed. But bass, the way a bass sounds changes a lot based on your technique. I think more so than a guitar. So like pick bass, like a picked P bass is like a very like, that's like the quintessential, again, it's the quintessential punk sound is a picked P bass.
Right.
But then it's like, for me,
slappy, or you're getting
just going like, I can get 3 very different tones out of the same pickup just between, am I going to play with my thumb?
Right.
Am I going to play with a pick, or am I going to play, am I playing with a pick? Am I playing, with just the side of my thumb, which gets a very like woody, like 60s R&B kind of a sound?
Yeah.
Or am I going to like finger pick, which is like a more plucky, it's like, but it's plucky in a bright way that's not like, I actually find pick playing to be bright in a like an aggressive way, but pick, like finger, like it's, and so it's like, I'm not changing anything else about the instrument. I'm getting like 3 very, to me, different sounds.
And to an extent, you get that with guitar as well.
But
it's like bass is certainly pretty dramatic in that territory.
Yeah.
Like slap bass versus, thumb plucked bass is completely different. Like you're saying pick bass and finger picking bass and whatnot.
I'm not even talking about like slapping and tapping. And,
you
all that.
You can also hit the bass with your dick. You could play with your teeth. There's all kinds of different ways to get a variety of desirable tones out of a bass.
And I mean, you can do all of those things on guitar, but it's not as common.
Right. It just doesn't feel as good to hit a guitar with your dick. The strings are too sharp, You got the big string to hit against.
You need that big dick energy.
This next ad was sent by Drew Ziam. I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
I always thought it was Ziam.
Ziam. That sounds better.
Could be. Is it Druzium?
Druzium?
What?
That sounds like a band name.
Night at the Druzium?
Night at the Druzium. This thing is a bunch of fun. It's a Hillbilly redneck VP bass with all this long guitar content this episode.
No.
2015 natural finish.
Gosh.
If you're not watching the YouTube version of the podcast,
you got to get this picture.
You got to look at the picture because it needs to be looked at. You know how there's cuts of wood, they're very, very fashionable these days, that have like the live edge on them, like you have the bark of the tree or the edge of the tree incorporated into the piece of wood that's on your your shelf or your cabinet or something like that. This is a live edge flying V bass, in that they've taken the cross section of like the Y branch part of a tree and cut a slice out of it, so you get this V shape, but then it's totally just like a branch out of a tree.
Yeah,
and
it
says kind of really fun.
It says for sale is this piece of Americana.
Does this qualify as Americana? Are we calling everything Americana now that's like slightly woodsy and rustic?
Is that what they're calling? Okay, my friend had a piece of box elder tree that was configured just right to make a natural V bass. So using some ingenuity in the parts from a Silvertone bass, he made his own, adding his own addition to the headstock. So all of the running gear is conventional, but the body is most decidedly is not. It's about the same weight as a regular P bass, in fact, a bit lighter. It's a product of an unconventional mind, nicely balanced, one-piece style pickup, tone and volume, aluminum access panel held on magnetically, adjustable truss rod. So here's my take on this: is it looks cool, but this is on Reverb, and this does not look $600 cool.
Yeah, because it's $450 plus $150 shipping.
The guts on this, the Silvertone bass, that's like $100
local price. What would you pay
for this item? I don't know.
If you liked it, You're buying it because you like it, Steve. That's part of the scenario.
So I'm buying this because I like this because
you're in a Country Bears Jamboree tribute band.
So the only scenario where I come across this, I'm saying like if I'm in a Guitar Center because I'm trying to sell something and I just happen to see this thing, I'm like, what the heck is this?
I've gotta have it.
Man, I don't know. 300 maybe, and it's got to be a real player.
So you're not calling this trash. You're not calling this 75.
No, I just don't think this is 450.
What did he say the neck came off of?
It came off of a Silvertone. Like this is
so it could be okay. It could be garbage. It's a modern Silvertone. Probably.
Yeah, I'm saying like you might as well say that this came off of a Squire Affinity.
Yeah. Yeah, the neck isn't the selling point here, but you know that there's going to be kind of a universal neck pocket there that you could throw something nicer into if you wanted to. I just think the novelty's there. Well, I think the look is cool. I think the shape works. It's definitely giving you V vibes without
did you see the knobs?
I did see the knobs or wood. Without being like, oh man, they cut this to be like a wonky V. No, this is just a piece of wood that happens to be a V, and it is like really doing a good job of being both a V and a piece of wood.
And this does have the thumb rest between the pickup and the bridge.
It's almost more like
I do kind of like that.
It's almost more like the BC Rich Warlock shape on the ends of the V's here.
Right.
On the points of it, like where it's squared off.
I'm not saying that this is horrible. The headstock is...
The headstock leaves something to be desired because they did something. They went too decorative.
You might say, Ryan, that the headstock leaves something to be desired.
I hope that's the right trigger I just pressed. I think it's the drum roll. We need to mark those. So, anyways,
it was probably the crickets.
It would have been better for them to continue the live edge theme up on the headstock and have a piece of bark along the edge of the headstock.
Mm-hmm.
This decorative like leaf carving thing, not a fan.
So first thing, this is a Hillbilly redneck VP bass, and then it says it's a piece of Americana, and it does kind of feel like it's just throwing words at this point.
Look at the giant route on the back of
it. That's for that magnetic whatever thing.
You think that's for weight relief?
Maybe.
You think they cut a ton of wood out the back?
There was a picture on this, and if you want to really go into reverb and hunt it down, there's a picture with that cover removed.
Yeah, we just don't have a screen grab.
I just didn't grab that one.
What if this bass sold already,
this almost sounds like Hillbilly is a brand, but then it says this is just a friend.
No, this isn't branded.
But when I think of like a Hillbilly or like a redneck instrument, I think of like those cigar box guitars.
Yeah, totally.
Like oil can guitars.
Or a banjo variation of some kind.
This is like, I don't know, this is like a woodsy, is it Americana?
I'd say that if you buy this, then you're hunting down the person who built it to also make you a matching guitar, maybe 2 guitars so your whole band can match, and then you're like making a drum kit out of logs. I don't see this on Reverb, so that means it got taken down or sold.
It was up there earlier today for sure, because that's when I screen grabbed it. Oh, but it does say sold, so it's because I had the direct link.
Oh, you had the link.
Yeah, I had the link in the email.
Okay, well maybe we can track down the link and look at those pictures, and I can include them in the in the video here.
So yeah, check it out. I guess. Look at the pictures. Man.
It's cool.
I don't know.
I like it. Steve's not sure, but I like it. Like, this is another bass I would buy if I was a bassist.
Right.
I would do this whole thing I have behind me with guitars. I would do that with basses if I was a bassist. But then I clearly don't have the mentality to play bass because I'm not a team player. I'm an a-hole.
Do you think, or how many bass players, how many basses do you think Patrick Hunter owns?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Do you have his number? Let's call him.
I might have his number.
All right, well, Ryan's looking for that question to answer. This week's other sponsor is D'Addario. And this week's sponsored product is the D'Addario Universal strap locking system. Designed by Ned Steinberger. This thing is super cool. These are the ones all in black. Most of them, I think, are black on the strap parts, but you can have different pegs to install. Ryan, when did you say you're going to do a video for this? Like in a month?
No, I might do it soon. I want to do like a
soon?
speed test.
You guys have been asking for an installation video, so we're going to give you that. But check these out. I forgot the price on them, but it's pretty decent. And this is super cool.
Yeah.
You're going to do this?
Yeah, let's call Patrick. Let's see if he answers. We have a rig now that allows us to make phone calls.
Where does he live?
Northwest, I think.
Okay. I was wondering if he'd be in bed.
Hopefully he answers.
I know. Otherwise, this is really boring.
Pretty boring if he doesn't answer.
That's voicemail.
Hello,
Patrick.
Ryan.
This
what's
isn't
up, man?
it's not your voicemail. I'm excited. You're on the podcast right now.
What's up?
What?
I know.
I see.
Hi.
We have a really easy question for you. How many bases do you own? He
12,
can't.
an even dozen.
Wow.
An even dozen.
So somebody does collect basses the way that Ryan collects guitars.
Hey man, I've got like 30 guitars. All right. We also want to know
way too many, I will admit.
where do you live, Patrick? We had that question too. Texas.
I live in Texas.
I just remembered Texas. Okay. All right. Thanks for your help, Patrick. Congratulations being our first phone call on the podcast.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. I want to thank you guys. I want to thank me the most. This is very exciting. I hope to see you guys next year too. Cool.
Yeah,
all right.
It's exciting.
Later, dude.
Bye.
All right, bye y'all.
That was fun.
That was different.
We strapped on the headphones.
He's not the first phone call. He's just the first phone call using this system.
Right. Well, we did a phone call like in their first 10 episodes.
Yeah.
And we never did it
again. We
again.
just used speakerphone holding up the mic.
12 bases.
Yeah, that's a lot.
There's a lot of bases.
But I guess if you have an all-bass YouTube channel, then maybe you...
Right.
You know.
But I think he also started, maybe I'm speaking out of turn here. I think he started as a guitarist.
I mean,
so
maybe.
he might have that guitarist mentality I was talking about. Should have kept him on the line a little longer to ask.
Oh, well. Next week. Which is in an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be super late in Texas when we call him again.
Yeah. All right. This next, did we cover this enough? Did I cover this enough?
Yeah. No, I'm going to do a video. D'Addario strap locks. We've talked about these a lot. Someone wants to see a speed test of these. This is the longest sponsorship ever. We took a break in the middle of it. But they're super slick. They're super flat. They're not going to stick out of your guitar like a freaking chest bishop. We keep saying that in the sponsorship spot. But it's true. And when I do the install video, I'll show just how flat they are. And I actually have one of those chest bishop locking strap systems in a box around here that I don't use because it sucks. And so I'll show a comparison of how thick it is compared to those.
Yikes.
I'm gonna get personal.
Personal here.
Yeah, I'm gonna name names.
Insult another product.
I'm gonna take my glove off and I'm gonna slap another company in the face.
All right,
that's what they get for not sponsoring us.
This next topic was sent in by Adam Dolhanic, the inboxer himself. He says, here's one, but it's a bit esoteric. Basically, talk about how people want to achieve a tone goal, but go about it the wrong way, so it's an endless gas cycle. Example, a player really wants sustain, but they go about it via gain, which leads to unwanted compression. Another example is a player who had a high wattage amp because that's what their tone hero uses, but they'll never achieve that tone because of the volume constraints, so they keep dumping money into workarounds instead of getting an amp that suits their needs. Hope that makes sense. I think this actually makes perfect sense.
Total sense. Tonal sense.
Total sense.
Uh-huh.
And I think this is a big thing. You know, obviously, like, things keep getting produced, and this is a conversation that
things keep getting produced.
It's almost like the. So I've talked about this. I don't think I've talked about this on the show.
I'm waiting till he gets to
I read this
a
article
point.
where they talk about
his tires are spinning in the mud right now.
The reason The Office was a popular show is because The Office talks about how like so many jobs in the United States don't need to exist.
Sure.
Like it's just middlemen.
Right.
And you know, when you think about it, like we had the Ibanez TS808 and the Ibanez TS9 and whatever. And you know, why do other companies make tube screamer variants?
Okay.
Like what is the purpose of this? And so now, you know, you have all these people who are trying to chase the SRV sound.
Right.
Which was really just like two tube screamers.
Into a Dumble.
Did he use a Dumble?
But it's the tube screamer thing we focus on.
Yeah. What did SRV use a Dumble?
He did. Famously he did.
So, you know, it's or it's a upside down strat or the backwards trim strat or whatever.
Right.
But there are these things where it's like you're trying to achieve these like such a perfect thing that we start chasing these sounds, or start trying to use like, instead of buying like the same or at least the similarist equipment, we get stuff that's like in the ballpark. And not to say that any of these newer products are bad. Like I had an Ibanez CS, I think it's the CS9 chorus. It's the stereo chorus from like the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
It did basically one sound, which was the Andy Summers sound, even though it was a chorus, and apparently that was a vibrato flanger. I don't remember.
Vibrato. Vibrato.
There's a big thing that comes up about how Andy Summers didn't use a chorus. He used some like similar but different modulation effect.
Like a flanger or something.
So, we definitely do chase by, so I think that is one example of this. The high wattage amp thing is another thing too, where it's like, especially 10, 15 years ago when like nu metal was super big, and everyone, got to get a triple rack, got to get a dual rack. And it's like, you're playing in a coffee shop, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
got to have a headroom. Do you?
Yeah. You don't have enough headroom?
Rewinding a bit, the SRV point, classic example. I read somewhere, whether it was an interview or like a secondhand account or something like that Stevie Ray Vaughan idolized Albert King's tone. And that's what he was trying to achieve with his tone.
That explains why he used so many solid state amps.
He didn't use a single piece of rig that had anything to do with Albert King's rig. Albert King, big, high wattage, solid state amp, acoustic control amps.
Mm-hmm.
Flying
260, 261,
and
I
a
think.
flying V.
Yeah.
No drive that I'm aware of.
Humbuckers. There's a flying V.
SRV to chase that tone. Strat, stacked tube screamers,
Dumble,
stacked wahs. I saw a chart one time where he had two crybabies with bits of wood going across them. So he's like a gear experimenter.
Yeah. And
Dumble amps or whatever else amps he used alongside those or instead of those, whatever point of his career, whatever you guys fight it out in the comments. I don't care. So like the point is like these two famous guitarists that arguably are known for their tone were achieving their desired tone in completely different ways. But it probably has something to do with the way they play, the way they approach the instrument, the way it's interpreted through their ears. Maybe at some point, Stevie Ray Vaughan picked up a flying V and plugged into an acoustic control amp, and it's like, it's not doing it for me.
Yeah.
And so he went on a whole different tone journey.
Well, and
to find the experience that he has when he's listening to Albert King. He was trying to chase that experience in his own playing.
And that's that other side of that whole equation of, it doesn't, you can have all of the exact same parts as somebody else and you're still going to sound like you, like sounding like another person is going to come down to like going beyond, like there's technique, there's, the fact that you might be a 6'2", 210-pound person, and they're a 5'7", 185-pound person. Like, and there's for some reason some weird resonance that they got with their perfect.
Who knows? Maybe
guitar.
it's the humidity where the two different players live.
Yeah. Or sometimes it's like something that you really have to again study and get into it, and like even watching the videos, it might not be obvious. Like I watched a video recently on I think it was Paul David's.
Okay.
Where he talked about how on some Red Hot Chili Peppers song, John Frusciante, his B string was tuned. Instead of being tuned to B, it was tuned to be.
I never watched that video, but I saw it going around when it was going.
Yeah, it was like tuned to be like the exact frequency octave or whatever of a different note on another string.
Right.
But it didn't have like the natural drift that you normally get on like chromatic scale. And so it made it so like this one note on that string was like perfect, like perfectly like the right note to be complementary to this other note, but made like every other note played on that string out of tune. But that was like the secret. That was actually the secret sauce to that song. And he's like, and so in the video, he's like, this is what it sounds like tuned standard. This is what it sounds like tuned with this one string. It's not even like a half step. It was like a third step or something.
It's a microtonal thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, there's like weird
saying that word makes me
like
sound smart. I'm not smart.
Also true.
Yeah. Has there ever been like a tone that you've chased and either you got it or couldn't get it?
I don't think so. I'm not a tone chasing person.
Yeah.
Probably because I'm not very good.
A tone that I tried to chase for a long time, and I still get excited when I get close to it, is the rhythm guitar tone from Cake. When you listen to it, it's just like this lo-fi, like crunchy, kind of like overdriven sort of sound.
Right.
And I couldn't figure out, I mean, this was back when I was learning how to play guitars pre like internet days of, well, there's internet, but it was like pre-YouTube.
Right.
And so I couldn't find like live videos of them playing or anything like that. All the music videos are all stylistic of people playing, who knows, like, is it their actual guitars that they're playing or whatever. And so I had no idea how he made that tone until I saw them live. And I bought an Ibanez lo-fi pedal thinking it would get me there. And it kind of got me there, but it was never quite right. See them live, realize the reason I couldn't get that tone is because he gets that tone by playing a freaking classical guitar with a pickup into like a frontman amp with the gain.
Oh, you don't want to do that?
Turned on. And I was like, oh, that's why I'm having trouble getting that exact sound out of my electric guitar, even though it sounds like a crunchy, overdriven guitar. He's using an acoustic guitar. And it made so much sense. And in that moment, I was just like, oh, I give up. I'm not going to try to get that tone exactly because now I know it doesn't come from an electric guitar, So I guess that was kind of my tone journey. I've never been too big into like trying to nail like Dick Dale's tone or trying to nail, a big one for surf guitar is trying to nail the Astronaut's tone as far as the drip goes. Like they had this perfect drip on every single note that they played.
I think I'm definitely like comfortable being in the ballpark.
Yeah, like I'm there
even...
too. Like every time I get like a multi-effect unit, I scroll through all the settings. I'm like, oh, cool, another Cliffs of Dover setting. Like, I don't want that exact sound because I'm not going to play that exact song. I want something that gives me that style without being that I can make my own.
And I would even say like I've gone to the point, and maybe this is like just kind of laziness, where when I'm learning a riff and I'm like, looking at how other people have done it, like I kind of just tend to pick the easiest for me, like the note pattern that makes the most sense. So it might be something where, the original version, the guy plays it, up on the 10th fret on the D and G strings, but you could also play it down on like the 5th fret on the G and B strings. Like I might opt to play that version because that's a space on the fretboard that I'm just generally more comfortable with. Now, is that kind of lazy? Yeah, but it works. It works. And to me, it's
how we make
close enough.
Our own signature like styles and the way we do things and whatnot.
And there's certain to that, because I'm like, okay, I want to play this riff, but I want to be able to put like a little bit of my own like secret sauce on it. I guess like I can feel like I can dig in, or like I can warble a little more, like add a little more finger vibrato, like in that section of the neck. Maybe that's cool. Maybe that's not. Maybe I should just play it like the record.
Not cool, Steve.
Lame.
Let's hit the last ad.
Yeah, before we hit this last ad, let's do a brief moment of housekeeping. If you made it this far,
a moment of housekeeping.
I'd like to thank Shane Murray for supporting the show at the $5 level. If you'd like to support the show, head on over to patreon.com/60cycle. Humcast, and you can pledge at $1, $2, $3, any dollar amount that you would like.
$32.
$32. If
we don't have any $32 pledgers.
That is accurate. We do not have any $32 pledgers.
And you know what, guys? You don't have to pledge forever either. Like, we kind of have been on the same plateau of amount of pledgers for probably a couple of years now. People come, people go.
Yeah,
we're cool with it. don't feel the pressure like, oh, if I start doing that, then I'll have to do it forever.
Yeah, we also super get
Pledge for a month.
Everyone goes through eras of life, seasons of life. We've had a lot of people who have emailed
times
us and
of
said,
plenty.
Hey, I've been super excited that I've been able to feel like a contributor to the show, but my family is having an addition in 3 months, so I'm going to drop it now because $15 or $10 a month in baby formula, like that's actually pretty significant.
But supporting us on Patreon gets you into the inner circle at the $10 level. That's like the behind the scenes sort of thing. You get to be close personal friends with Steve and I and everyone else behind there, and talk trash about everyone else in the main group and people who comment on YouTube. So
it's true. All right.
And we do all our trash talking on the industry back there. So if you want to check that out, that's the place to be. Last ad?
Yeah. So one thing that about this ad is we didn't get the actual words of it, so I found them. This is a Gibson Dave Grohl signature model GG335 Pelham Blue 2014. They're asking basically $12,600 plus shipping. This is in the UK. This was also sent in by Craig Breslin, who got on here twice.
He has been a heavy hitter this week. He had a lot of ads.
So here is the description, very long, but we will smash through it. Are you ready? Are you Fat King ready? Okay. This is my Dave Grohl DG335 2014 with custom-made wall-mounted display cabinet. It's a gorgeous cabinet. It really needs to be seen in person to be appreciated. It's in near mint condition and has spent most of its life in a display case. Serial 77 of 200. It's pretty much not been played. I bought it, looked at it a lot, spent some time taking the gorgeous smell of the new wood. And then life got in the way of getting any real joy out of it. It's stunning. It even still smells new and beautiful. How does beautiful smell?
I could describe a few things, Steve, but they're not proper for a podcast. A family podcast
I
like
have
this.
found a very small scratch on the side. I have no idea how it got there. Considering this guitar has been cased almost all its life, it's probably a minor production defect. So this guy has like a $10,000 guitar or whatever. This is new, but it's a production defect.
No, looking at that scratch, because it's in the cutaway, the neck cutaway. I don't think that's a scratch. I think that's the beginning of nitro cracking.
Nice. All the original documentation is there's a tiny blemish on the headstock from the hanger on the display cabinet. That is a little disconcerting, to be honest.
I don't know if I see that in the photo.
Because that almost sounds like
if it is a nitro guitar, then maybe it was melting into the rubber or something.
But I don't see either. I will gladly deliver this myself. If it's all possible, I'll even drive it on to continental Europe for a reasonable fee. Just bear in mind that I work shifts, so it could mean waiting a few days. Please feel free to make a reasonable offer. Feel free to ask any questions at all, and I will try to answer. The display cabinet comes as part of the sale as long as I can deliver it myself. Should I have to ship it to an address I cannot personally transport to, I will only include the cabinet if extra delivery charges are paid, as is a very large item. So that $251 shipping does not include the cabinet. The cabinet is not in a single photo.
The bucket wild thing about this ad is that he talks about the cabinet so much, doesn't include a photo, and then the photos of the guitar feature the guitar perched in like the riskiest way possible.
On top of like an arm, like a nightstand or something.
Or a dresser or whatever, but it's like it's balancing basically on the butt end strap peg and like the very tippy tip of the headstock. And if you're familiar with this model, you know it has the 6-in-line like Firebird headstock. So it's like it doesn't even have the benefit of like the squared off book flat headstock of a normal Gibson. This thing could tip off this dresser at any moment and add all kinds of damage to this guitar that he's trying to sell for $12,000. By the way, that price is not bizarre. There's one for $9,000 plus 100 shipping on Reverb. There's one for $12,000. There's one for
there is a gold one
$11,000
for $12,000.
There is a signed gold one for $25,000 plus 200.
So you actually don't think that price is? You think that price?
It sounds normal to me.
Is normal
compared to the rest of these. And also, like, I don't want to sound like I'm crapping all over Dave Grohl, but of all the people that have like a signature instrument that anyone cares about, I don't ever think to myself or hear anyone else saying like, oh man, what's the secret to that Dave Grohl tone?
That's fair.
He's doing big, like chuggy, like rock and roll, fist strumming style stuff there. It's not like there's like any nuance to his playing.
Right.
It's not like you couldn't get that tone, that sound with just, a hot Marshall and a humbucker guitar, any humbucker guitar. I mean, this is a cool guitar. A lot of people really love this guitar. It's got those diamond F-holes. It's got the 6-in-line Firebird headstock, like I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
It's Pelham blue. People get a big old boner for Pelham blue.
This is basically a Trini Lopez in blue.
Right. But like, I can't imagine being the guy who's like, I just got to have that exact Dave Grohl thing,
Besides the 6-in-line headstock, like I don't really know what this guitar offers that like any other 330. Oh, and I guess the diamond.
Right.
Which, that is not to get too far off topic, but that is a production or like that's what makes that limited edition is like some of these guys, they're like, oh, I want a signature model. And the company who's going to do is like, okay, we'll do it, but it's going to be custom shop only. Yeah. So to that, it's like, yeah, Dave Grohl's got a $12,000 guitar, but is it a $12,000 guitar because it's Dave Grohl? Or is it a $12,000 guitar because they were like, yeah, we'll do it, but we're only going to make them like fully custom shop.
I also didn't know that it came in this like champagne gold.
I never saw that until right now.
Oh, it's pretty. I'm gonna have to put a picture online.
Are you ready to get out of here?
On the video.
I'm cutting you off this time.
I mean, I'm not gonna pay. I would buy a guitar in that finish, but I'm not gonna pay $12,000 for a Dave Grohl thing. I actually don't like this guitar. I'm actually not a fan of a lot of it, but I get why people like it. All right, get us out of here, Steve.
All right, this week's song, and this could be the last song that we do unless somebody sends us a song in the next hour. This is from Emily Harris. He says, hey guys, when I was in Nashville for Summer Now, I joined a band, recorded a song, and filmed a live video. Here's a recording from the live video. I played some sort of vintage Jag, probably the one behind us, into a Fender amp of some sort with a pedal I've never heard of, but almost made an offer on it. This pedal is... it just says Gazette on the front, and it looks like it's acid etched. The band is called Michelle Sullivan and the All Night Boys, and the song is called Little Pink Room. Thanks, Emily, for submitting. Thanks, you, for listening. We're done.
All right, bye, everybody.
Stay grounded.
Stay grounded.